The Wolfe Brothers are one of the most exciting country rock bands to emerge out of Australia. Their new album, Country Heart, shot them to the top of the iTunes country chart and number 4 on the iTunes main chart. And Rave It Up recently had a chat over Skype with guitarist Brodie Rainbird to discuss their exciting new album and their career. Brodie, welcome to Rave It Up. It is a pleasure to have you on the show today. How are you going?
Thank you, Lauren. I'm good. I've never done a Skype interview before, so this is interesting.
There's a first time for everything, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe all your future interviews you'll just want to do Skype.
Yeah, that's going to be the future.
Now, since this is your first time on the show, we'd love to get to know you and the band a little bit better and start from the beginning to get a real good idea of how you've made it to where you are today. So, all you guys have known each other since you were kids, you grew up with each other and all loved music, so I guess it was quite inevitable, right? Was that always the plan?
Yeah, I think the dream was to always be where we are now. It feels very natural. We didn't know how it was going to come around, but yeah, we went through musical phases together, and we've been playing together since high school. I remember doing little acoustic gigs with Nick, for the school and at assembly, and so that sort of ramped up, and we went through college, and we had a band in college, and then the Wolfe Brothers has fundamentally been us the whole time, but there's been different lineups. We had a different singer at one stage.
Wow, I can't imagine that.
Way back before. It wasn't even called the Wolfe Brothers then, it was something else, and that was just before I came back in and joined. But yeah, I can remember going, watching musical DVDs, Bon Jovi DVD at Nick's house, and we would all sort of watch that, and it was a huge arena gig, and we would fantasize about how we would open our arena gig and how it's going to be when we're a band that's as big as Bon Jovi, so it's always been on the cards.
Well, it's getting there. And how long have you personally been playing guitar for?
I think I picked up the guitar in grade 4 or 5. I think because my next door neighbour played guitar. He was a bit older than me. He was in grade 7. He was in high school. And I just thought it was the coolest thing ever, and I wanted to learn it. And, he used to teach me Metallica songs and, old 50s rock songs as well. And, the easy stuff to learn when you're a kid. And, yeah, I just never put it down. It was just part of my life instantly, and that was how it was going to stay.
Yeah, the rest is history now.
Yeah.
Not looking back. I love it. And was music what you always personally wanted to do, or was it just more you thought it was like a hobby?
I don't know. Like I said, once I picked the guitar up, it was just like, this is part of me now. This is life. I remember when I chose, because you could choose what instrument you wanted to do in grade 5. And, already having been familiar with the guitar, I chose guitar. And I remember telling kids on the school bus on the way home that I'd picked guitar, and everyone was like, oh, no, that's really hard. You shouldn't have picked that. Oh, I sucked in for picking the hardest thing. And I remember straight away, even as a little kid, I remember thinking, no, screw you, I'm going to do this. So, yeah, it's just such a natural thing. It was just instantly what I wanted to do and who I was.
Well, now they're looking at you going, wow, boy, was I wrong. Now they probably all want to play the guitar. I don't know.
I hope so, yeah. Maybe we can inspire some people.
Definitely. And as a guitarist of the band, really want to know, have you ever wanted to be up front and center and be a lead singer or anything like that?
Do you know, it was funny, in the early days, we used to put me in the middle up the front because I could reach people and engage with people without a mic stand in front of me, so I wasn't going to get hit in the teeth, because that used to happen a lot at the early gigs. There was no crowd barrier, and it was very up close and personal. So I used to stand in the middle so I could engage with people, but
they wanted to put you in the danger zone, it sounds like.
Oh, danger zone, yeah, exactly. But when we got serious and did the EP and started doing actual Wolfe Brothers music, we had to change it because it didn't seem, it just was silly. But I've had a little turn up the front. It was great fun.
Oh, good. You still wanting to do that, or you're happy a little bit behind?
Because I do gigs with a mic stand in front of me now, so I like these teeth. I like having them. So I don't want to get them knocked out, so I'm all good.
That's good. You get to back up sing as well, so best of both worlds. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the band is called the Wolfe Brothers, so what do you think about that, since you're not actually a Wolfe brother?
Look, I've had enough. I've said this before. I've had enough hot meals at the Wolfe residence to be considered part of the family. But no, the Wolfe Brothers name came about pretty naturally as well. It was like the boys were doing, like, the band took a bit of a break. This is before I rejoined, and they were doing, Nick and Tom were doing duo gigs, just acoustic stuff. And they were doing weddings and functions and pub gigs and things like that. And they didn't have a name for that. People would just say, oh, we'll go and see the Wolfe Brothers, or the Wolfe Boys are playing here. So when we decided to come back in and do the full country band thing, the name was already there. It had already happened. So it was like, well, we need to roll with this because everyone's already familiar with it. And, you know, we're trying to pick up momentum as a band and change the awareness of how that is. So it just happened, and whatever, you know. And back to my Bon Jovi thing, that's just one guy's name, but the whole band is, you know, involved in it. So
that's true. It's too late to change it now.
It's too late to change it now.
Yeah. Well, because I was thinking about it, I was like, I'm surprised they didn't just like combine everyone's last names or something, or, you know, along those lines.
Trying to come up with a band name is so hard. It's we were called in college. We were called 5150, which is a Van Halen reference. Yeah, it's a Van Halen thing. So any Van Halen fans out there will know exactly what I'm talking about. And then we were called the Dagwoods before that. Nick chose that one. You know, that was pretty interesting. But yeah, coming up with a decent band name is so hard. So we just used the last name. It was easy that way. It was like, yeah, it sounds great. Let's go with it.
There's some weird ones out there, I gotta say.
There is. That's because it's difficult.
They want to make it creative and unique, and that's what they come up with.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, everyone probably remembers you guys back in 2012 from Australia's Got Talent. You blew everyone away every single week with your original songs. So how was your overall experience on that show?
Look, we were really lucky to be on there, and we only played one or two covers, I think, out of the whole thing. We're very much the underdogs. I remember feeling on the show like the focus was very much on everyone else, and we were just like a band that was just humming along and getting voted in every round. We kept getting voted back in. It was like, oh, well, great. Okay, well, what are we going to do next? And the idea of going on the show was just to get some gigs on the mainland, because in Tassie we call the rest of Australia the mainland. We wanted to get some gigs out of Tasmania because we were playing 2 or 3 nights a week here in Tassie. We were doing rodeos and BNSs and things like that. And, you know, you only have to play for 2 minutes on a show like that. And we were used to doing 3 hours in a pub, you know, in much more harsh conditions, you know, and much, the pressure was a lot different. Being on TV, you know, having to put 3 hours worth of energy into 2 minutes and get it bang on and get it spot on, you know, like, especially live TV, the pressure was incredible, but we thrived on it. It was a whole new challenge for us, and it helped us grow as a band for sure, like, being in that strange situation that was very unnatural, you know.
But it got you guys out there and fantastic exposure.
It did. A guy by the name of Lee Kernaghan happened to be watching one night and decided that he wanted to change his live set as well and introduce, you know, a new band and really freshen things up for his live show. So he got in touch with us and he sent us 10 songs to learn and said, boys, we're going to do an audition. So we spent 3 weeks learning these 10 songs and getting them, like, album perfect. Like, they had to be... This was like, you know, we'd gone from pub gigs to all of a sudden Lee Kernaghan wants us to play with him. It was like, well, you know, I remember sitting in my... I was a tradesman at the time, and I remember sitting in my van... I hope my boss isn't watching this. Sitting in my van, getting my work done as quick as I could so I could sit there with the stereo on and play guitar. I had a little battery amp, and I took my electric guitar to work, and I'd sit there in the driver's seat for hours and go over these songs because I really wanted to nail them. And it worked, but because we got to the rehearsal studio, we met Lee. He showed up and shook all our hands and, you know, put us all at ease and said, oh, you know, no pressure, boys. Just want to see how this goes and get a bit of a feeling for how this is going to work. And we played one song. We played Dirt, and he watched every member of the band. And at the end of that one song, he shook all our hands again and said, boys, you've got the job. That was it. You know, the rest is history.
You learnt the 10 songs for no reason.
Well, that was the thing. We were like, are you sure you don't want to play some more? And he's like, oh, yeah, let's just have some fun. Like, what else did you learn? And we played a couple more, but it was just fun after that because the deal was done. And
that's fantastic. That was something I wanted to bring up as well, because you guys were opening for him, and in front of like sold out crowds, like heaps of people. So I really want to know, did you or do you still ever get nervous in front of that amount of people?
Yeah, I do. I don't know about the other boys, but I do, you know, like, and I think that's a good, you know, the nervous energy is a good thing to have because it means it still matters a lot to you. And that adrenaline rush is what, you know, heightens your senses and makes the gig even more, you know, more exciting. But, yeah, no, and that was like, you know, that's been one of the best apprenticeships we could have hoped, the best apprenticeship we could have hoped for. You know, we've learnt so much from Lee over the years and about how, you know, he never gets lazy. He's always reviewing his own shows and looking for ways to improve it and thinking about, you know, how the show could end better or start better, or, you know, the set list is continuously changing. You might not notice, but songs are always getting swapped around until it's perfect. And then by the time it's absolutely perfect, it's time to put a whole new show together and do the whole process again. And yeah, he is always looking for that sort of improvement. So it's really cool to see that, you know, he really sets an example for us, and we've learned crazy amounts about that.
Well, he's got to keep up with all the new competition coming in, and
that's right, yeah.
Yeah, that's what makes him great.
It's crazy, you know, we just finished his 25th anniversary tour, and it was sellout show night after night. He is the new king. Yeah, it's real.
Definitely. Always been the king of country for Australia.
yeah, that's true.
Is he still keeping contact with you guys as well? And
oh, yeah. No, you know, he's not just our boss, he's our mate now, which is really cool. Actually, we FaceTimed him on Nick's Bucks night, and he did a shoey with us over the phone.
It's like, sorry I can't be there, but I'm there in spirit.
yeah, so it was really good. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you did mention before, you know, thanks to this amazing opportunity, you were able to quit your day job. So can you describe the feeling of when you finally got to leave your job as a refrigerator mechanic?
Yeah, so I was on the roof of one of the buildings down here at the university, changing some air filters in an air conditioning unit. You know, it's one of the super boring jobs that had to be done every week. And Tom called me, and he said, "Are you sitting down?" I was like, "No, I'm on a rooftop of a library."
Probably not the best place to tell me.
Yeah, I was like, "But I'm excited now. What's happening? What is this?" And he said, "Well, Stephen White management wants to put us on, and Lee Kernaghan wants us to be his band, and we've got some songs to learn." And I was just like, "Oh, okay, wow." And I went and told my boss, and he was stoked. He was so happy. I was already working part-time and studying music at that point as well. I was actually attending university, and so I was already sort of halfway out, just doing like 3 days a week. And the boss was already a big fan of the band. He loved it. He thought it was fantastic, and they were going to have to make redundancies soon anyway. So I was just like, well, I'm going. And it was really good. Everyone really loved it, and yeah, for me it was a very smooth transition.
Oh, and now you get to do what you love every single day.
Yeah, it was amazing. And you know, even after we got the job, I was still working back at the thing, and it was just like, Casey, our drummer at the time, had already left his job. Tom was on his way out, and you know, I was still working bits here and there. And I still remember the week that I went in, and I was just thinking, like, I don't have to be here. This is actually real. I don't have to be here. So I quit that week, and we did music. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you know you've made it. When you feel comfortable enough to leave that day job.
Yeah, and it was a bit of a pay cut at the time, and you know, it took a lot of years to get back to that level, but everything's looking pretty good at the moment now. You know, it's taken a lot of hard work to get the band up to this stage where we can we can support ourselves, because we had the lead tours every year for so long. That was our bread and butter. That was bringing in, money for the business and everything. But now it's at the point where it looks like we can go out and tour on our own backs, and support ourselves, which is fantastic. It was hard, for years. We kept trying that, and at first it worked, and then there was this natural lull that happened after the show, because of being on national TV really created a lot of hype, and you could go straight off the back of that and tour very easily, because the name was like, right, you were a household name after being on a show. And then it kind of dipped a bit, and now we're on the way back up. So yeah, we're really happy.
Wow. This is like one of the main reasons I love doing these interviews too, so that people watching this or listening on the radio show can see how hard you guys have worked to get to where you are. You know, it's not easy, this industry, but, you know.
It's a long time.
Much more respect.
You know, I had a moment backstage. We did a gig in Bundaberg a little while back, and we had some radio people backstage, and we were just doing some meet and greets and things like that. And the green room was very sealed off from the main room where the gig and everything was. And I remember watching the radio people walk out, and they opened the door, and I sort of looked behind them, and I went, "Oh, the room's full. We did this. Like, this is, it wasn't that long ago. We were, trying to sell tickets and, selling 12 tickets to a gig, and it was like really depressing. And looking out through that room and going, oh my God, this is actually working. This is fantastic,
People are actually here to see us.
Yeah, like we did this. This is not a Lee Kernaghan gig. This is us,
Yay! Congratulations, guys. And from looking at your past videos, like throwing back, it seems like you guys have a lot of fun on tour and even in video clips.
We do, because we were mates before band members, and I didn't realise how rare that was. I thought that was normal. I thought all bands were like that, but yeah, it turns out that's quite a rare thing, and like having that bond of mateship that came before, the band. And we all have this common goal that ties us together, which is, success and to share our music to as many people as we can. So we're all on the same page, and we've all got that close sort of bond, It's just like an unstoppable thing.
Oh, that's great. Do you guys ever have fights, like real brothers?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Every week. But the thing is, the beautiful thing is, like, we're so close. Like, we can be fighting about something, particularly the brothers, because they are brothers. We'll be fighting something, and then 10 minutes later, we'll have a laugh about it. Like, can't believe you just said that. And then the whole van will erupt, and it's just funny, and we just move on with our lives, It's great.
And you're all on the same page in terms of your musical journey anyway, so
Exactly.
as long as that's still good, you'll go far.
Exactly, Lauren,
Yeah. Now, your new album, Country Heart, is out now, and the first single off the album, Ain't Seen It Yet, really reflects your growth. It's very different from your other songs and projects. So how did all this come about? Why the change?
Look, we realised we could go back in the studio and, track everything exactly how we've done it. We had, up until that point, we'd just go in, we would track as a band, sort of live-ish. We'd get the drummer in the booth, rhythm section would play, Nick and I would play along, and that would be our bass tracks to work from. And the drums would be done in 2 days, rhythm section would be completely done. And then we'd just spend a week or two overdubbing vocals and guitars. And we knew we could do that. We knew we could go back in and do it all like that, and it would be the same album, and we would probably be disappointed with it because we were ready for a change. So yeah, we met up with Matt Fell at Love Hurts. We just sort of said, mate, we really want to get modern with this. We really want to change everything. We want lots of programming stuff, cool synth sounds, and we want to show a bit more restraint with this album, I think, because the album before that, I'm pretty sure it starts, the opening track, Crazy Life, starts with this huge drum fill, and then it's just all in. And listening back to that, it's like, that's a bit much. Like, it's pretty full on, So it was time to show some restraint. And it's not surprising that it would have been like that because, a lot of our influences like Guns N' Roses and Def Leppard and Van Halen, like, it was all very heavily guitar driven. And we wanted to take a step back from that and see what would happen. So yeah, that was the brief. We said this, to Matt Fell, and he said, well, what I think would be a great idea is to make sure each song gets its own identity rather than doing each song the same way. And we were like, brilliant, that's it. Let's run with that. So we went in, started programming tracks and laying vocals. We didn't touch a guitar for 2 weeks. Yeah, it was very different. Things were layered and done one at a time and carefully thought about. And Matt's all about creating little hook lines and little things, and that really rubbed off on us. And I know particularly with my guitar solos, they were less about being a guitar solo and more about creating melodies and new hooks and new ideas that you would sing along with, which was very liberating for a guitarist. For me, it was like the pressure was off to try and shred, and you could just go, oh, what about this melody? Like, this will work awesome. So that was the whole process was, 100% more creative. And we enjoyed every step of it. He would come in the morning and find a weird synth line on the keyboard, and it was just like, we would never think of that before. And now we've got that. Well, let's work with it. Let's build something on that idea. And yeah, it was great. It was so great. And the three of us have never been more happy and content with something that we've created. This album is by far our best work, and it's we've reached a pinnacle there. So we're going to have to figure out how to top that for the next one.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to say, it must have been really hard for you, not touching a guitar for a couple of weeks.
I enjoyed it. It was. I thought I'd hate that. Yeah, I mean, it was what we really needed to do. We'd reached that point where we really didn't want to do the same thing again, and it was evident right from the first week that what we were doing was working. The tracks we were building and the way we were doing it was definitely working. And every single little thing that got added, we were like little schoolboys in a candy shop. We were just like, oh, this is awesome, this is coming together so well. And, we did show a lot of restraint with guitar work. There are some songs that only have one or two guitar tracks in them. And that let the song breathe and become its own song. It wasn't weighed down with this, heavy layers of guitars. So, yeah, it was great. Really loved it.
And is Ain't Seen It Yet your favourite song off the album, or do you have another one?
Yeah, it changes quite often, but yeah, Ain't Seen It Yet for Tom and I, even when the track was half built, we sort of started to push for that to be the first single, and there was a bit of, Nick didn't really like that idea because it was very different. That song, by the way, was written in the style of Steve Earle, like Copperhead Road. That song was supposed to be, because we wrote it in Nashville with a guy who, loves Steve Earle, and we're quite partial to a bit of Steve Earle ourselves, so it was written in the style of that. And then when we got to record it, it was like, this is not going to fit in this album anymore. It's going to be such a standout. It's going to seem out of place. So we started to search for songs to template it to, and eventually we found, I can't remember what it was. Matt was like, well, why don't we do it like this song? And he played the song and was like, oh God, really pushing out of our comfort zone now. But yeah, we ended up coming around to it, and it just came out such a different song from when it was written. I'd love to show you the demo of it. I don't have it on me, but yeah, it's a complete departure from how it was supposed to be.
Well, another day, yeah.
Yeah, and Tom and I were just like, we've got some single tingle on this one. This could be the first single, and after a lot of chatting amongst management and band members, it turned out to be the favourite. So yeah,
it's definitely my favourite. It's fantastic. Good job.
Thank you.
And the video clip for the song is also now up on YouTube for everyone to check out. Was that a lot of fun to film? Beautiful location, I gotta say.
It was. That's the Wolfe Boys farm. The Wolfe Brothers grew up on a family small fruits farm. There's 100 years of history, 120 years that farm's been running. And the boys are still running it now to this day. So
how they have time for that, I don't know.
Well, look, if anyone's going to run a farm and a band at the same time, it's going to be the Wolfe Brothers. Yes, both of those things run in their blood, from generations back. Their great grandfather was their whole family had something called the Wolfe Brothers Family Orchestra. Yeah, when their dad was a kid, he played drums for, and when the Wolfe Brothers were kids, they played in their dad's band. And we get fans that come up to us and say, I remember going to gigs and, in Hobart and watching your dad play, and now I can come and watch you guys. And it's a very generational thing for those boys. It's really cool. But that was filmed on the Wolfe Brothers Small Fruits Farm. And again, a concept that we'd never used before, a very creative idea to have this one flowing shot. The transitions are very liquid and they move from one shot to the other. It wasn't, I think there was only a total of 7 or 8 shots in the whole thing, and it was all filmed in sequence. It was all storyboarded and had to be very strictly done that way. And it was awesome. We'd never done anything like that. And again, it felt like we were upping the game and getting out of the comfort zone and creating a product that was a bit higher quality than what we've done in previous clips. Yeah. Who
was in charge of editing that? Because as you said, the transitions, they are so cool and so creative.
Josh Favalero at the Filmery. who unfortunately he moved on from that job, and he works for a big corporate firm now, because he was getting so good. He got offered, a high-paid job, but he was a genius, and that was one of his last clips that he did. Certainly his last one with us.
A genius, to say the least. Like, incredible.
He's a genius. He is so... Yeah, and a lot of that was sort of his concept. We wanted a one-shot... we wanted to actually try and do it in one shot too. Then it became evident that we needed to split it up a bit and just do something more like what we had. And he had the whole thing in his mind, and he had a really strong vision of what he wanted to create, and we sort of talked about it leading up to the clip, and then we just got out there and did it, and it came out great.
It's fantastic. Everyone has to check it out. Get some more views up on that YouTube video. Now, you guys are going all around Australia for your Country Heart tour, and when I say all around Australia, I mean all around Australia. So where are you most excited to visit out of all the places you're going to?
Look, there's still dates to be announced. We've got this weekend around Sydney, which is cool. We get to visit. I think we've got a lot of dates in August in Queensland, which would be nice because it's really cold here in Tassie at the moment. And like this live show has been a bit of a challenge too, because when we did the previous albums, we've always taken the live aspect into account, and we've always made decisions based on what we can do live. There's always been a thing with Crazy Life. There was always like, we could do this, but how are we going to do it live? So let's avoid it. But with this album, we threw that completely out the window and was like, forget about live, we'll think about that later, let's just focus on creating an amazing album. So when it actually came time to play these songs live, it was like, all right, challenge number 2, how are we going to do this? Because there are a lot of instruments in this album that don't exist. Synth things and strange noises that don't come from an instrument. And like a lot of the songs were, like I said, not heavily guitar driven, which means we had to get Nick on playing acoustic again, because that was something we did in college. We had to go back to that setup with Nick playing acoustic because that was the glue that stuck the songs together, and I was just playing the little detail parts. And it actually took a bit of workshopping to get that to feel right on stage because it was so different. And we did a few gigs, played a bunch of the new songs, and it felt awful. It felt terrible on stage because suddenly Nick's guitar, which was the glue that stuck all the tracks, was heavy guitar, he uses those big Gretches. Suddenly that sound, which was constant on stage, had disappeared. And Nick's acoustic was coming out front, but we couldn't hear it on stage, and it felt terrible. It was like something was really missing. So we had to really go into a rehearsal space and figure out, and even just the gear we used had to change because it wasn't suiting our needs anymore, and we had to figure out a way to get Nick's guitar big on stage again so that we all felt comfortable. And after that process, it actually, it feels a lot better. It feels like, again, we've lifted the level of, the quality level up a notch for the live show. We just said to our manager, just book all the dates you can, book us out for the rest of the year. We've done a ton of work on this. Let's get it out there and show people, we are now, and that we've lifted the bar.
Wow. Well, we're very excited for the shows. Everyone should go buy tickets. Yeah, definitely. Now, something else I really just have to bring up is something I saw on Facebook recently, and which I absolutely love and appreciate. You guys are supporting Stop Bullies in our schools and Say No to Bullies. So is this something close to your hearts?
Look, yeah, of course it is. Yeah, I mean, like, you can't, when we were in school, I'm not sure what it's like now, but when we were in school, it was impossible to be a kid and not witness something like that. So when we were asked to do that, it was just like, this is absolutely something we want to be a part of, no question of a doubt.
Were you guys bullied at school yourselves?
I wasn't, no, and I don't think the Wolfe Boys were either, but like I said, it was never too far away, to witness something like that. And there's no point, there's no need for that. And it's a cultural thing, I think if we can stamp out that way of thought so that everyone believes, instead of, it's good to punish that, but to stamp that culture out altogether would be the best, prevention. Obviously, it was to completely stop the cause of it. So yeah, this is a great thing. We'll always stand behind that.
Gotta spread love, not hate, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, while we have you with us, Brodie, we also would love to know, do you have any advice for the listeners who might want to follow their dreams, becoming a singer or guitarist, or just starting their own band and making it successful?
I always say when kids want to learn guitar and they we do meet and greets at gigs and they're like, oh, what do I need to know? What do I learn? And then, the parents will be like, oh, yeah, I want to get lessons and things like this. My advice is to always learn the songs that you love. Because it keeps that passion up, you can play scales for half an hour a day, but you'll end up hating it. And I did that to myself. I had a really strict practice regime, and it sucked the passion right out of it. And I forgot that, playing guitar was meant to be fun. It became a job, and I was like, right, I have to do, this 3-hour regime every day. To the minute, and every exercise was timed, and I had to move on to the next thing when the buzzer went off, and it was just awful. I did it for 3 months, and I put the guitar down, and I just went like, I'm never doing that again. That's terrible. So, yeah, it really get stuck into the things you're passionate about, and if it's as simple as just learning a song that you really love, or your favourite song for that week, do that, and then through doing that, you'll probably discover little techniques through that song that have been used, or ideas that are new to you through songs. That would be my number one thing to do, because, sitting there practicing scales sucks. You're going to have to do it at some point, but, make sure you mix it in with stuff that's fun and that you're passionate about.
Life is too short. You got to do what you're passionate about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, life's too short to just be doing scales.
Yeah.
Now, we are unfortunately getting to the end of the interview. It's been a lot of fun. I've learned so much. No, thank you. But before we go, if the listeners would like to contact you guys or find out what you're up to, where should they go? Yeah,
look, we've got the website, www.thewolfebrothers.com, and make sure you spell Wolf with an E on the end. Some people get that wrong. All of the announced dates will be on the website. You can also, of course, watch our social medias, our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. We're always announcing dates. We've actually just got a new sheet in from our management with a ton of unannounced dates.
Ooh.
So it's really worth, there's heaps of stuff on there. Like, our year is busy. So, yeah, watch out, because there's chances are we are coming to a town near you.
I did also see August 9th to the 12th is the Mount Isa Mines Rotary Rodeo, and you'll be performing with other artists like Jimmy Barnes, Shannon Nolan, and the Climate. Just Jimmy Barnes, no big deal at all. Australian legend.
This year is actually pretty cool. Like, Jimmy Barnes is one of our heroes, so we'll hopefully get to meet him. We're also doing the Big Red Bash. Who John Farnham's like headlining there, I think the night after. And he is just one of our all-time favourite heroes. If you watch any John Farnham live DVDs, you'll instantly see where Tom gets his announcing skills from. There was a live DVD, I can't remember which one it was, might have been Chain Reaction. We refer to that as the Bible, because that live DVD is where we get all of our life principles from, So, you can watch that, you'll see us instantly. So, we might get to meet John Farnham, which is a huge thing for us. We've wanted to do that for years. We nearly got to open for him, I think 2 years ago, and the gig got cancelled, or we got booked for something else we had to do, and it was just like, this close,
It's all right. Everything's meant to it happens for a reason, so, no pressure. You'll be in the same event as him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, getting to meet him as well.
Well, good luck, guys. You definitely have a full year ahead.
We do.
The rest of the year.
Yeah. And
since we're already in July. It's kind of creeping me out a little.
I know. It just still feels like the start of the year, doesn't it?
Yeah. So when I say the rest of the year, that's what I mean. Yeah. The next 7-8 months.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Brodie. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Lauren. It's been fantastic. You should do this, for a job.
Oh, say what? It's good, because I'm so passionate about it. Love doing it for a job.
There you go.
Well, you're welcome on the show anytime. So in the future, if you want to chat about anything or you want to promote anything, just let me know.
I will do. Thank you.
And of course, the other guys are free to come on the show too.
Yeah,
well, maybe next time we can do it as a full band.
Yep, definitely. And I'll have to come to one of the shows, as I said, so I can meet you all guys properly.
Yeah, let me know. I'll put you on the door.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. I'll contact you and, we'll keep in contact and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, no worries.